Hello again, hi there. Thanks very much for all the comments on the previous videos that I've done, and I'm really trying to take some advice from them and have done. One actually said that it would be good if I was more concise in these videos, and I do agree, and I think it's to aid myself in that. I've been writing some notes, so I'm going to be referring to those on the screen here for this one, to have the notes available rather than relying on memory, because I know this is a very serious matter, and the last thing I want to do is spread any wrong information about it or just meander on without any particular purpose. That's not why I'm doing them. So I want to thank all the commentators on the previous videos, and particularly just going back to the two about the green note, the so-called confession note. The comments really helped clarify my own reading of the green note, which was deemed a note of confession by the police and prosecution. And it's with the help of these comments, which queried the reading that I'd done in those videos, I now read the line in question, as many commentators did actually say they saw it, as how will things ever be like they used to? And the word "to" it's occluded by this very heavy writing over the top of it, and followed below by the phrase "they won't" as opposed to "they went." So it's not "they said" above, it's actually "they used," but part of used, the "you" of used, is occluded again by writing over the top of it, and there is a "to" at the end. So how will things ever be like they used to? It's a very plaintive phrase, isn't it, when you consider that Lucy Letby's position now, and then the answer to her question, "they won't." Another thing I'd like to do is recommend the latest substack. In the title of the substack is Law, Health and Tech, T-E-C-H, Tech. It's a Substack article by Dr. McLachlan, who was in that video with Professor Norman Fenton, the 40-minute video when they discussed the case at length. And the article title is called The Demise of Baby E, and it was published on the 30th of August. The article that Dr. McLachlan writes proposes an alternative theory to the deliberate synthetic insulin poisoning in the case of baby E, and then you could extrapolate from that it would apply to baby F as well. I think they were twins. There's a lot of dense information, medical information and argument and terminology in the article, but it's really worthwhile reading it all, because the arguments do become clear. I was looking up a lot of the terms just to understand them at a very basic layman level, but they've become very clear and compelling. I just wanted to read two excerpts from the last section, which is titled Discussion and Conclusions, and these two particularly stuck out to me. The first was with regard to the hospital as a whole, in terms of the staffing situation. This is back in 2015. Yes, it would have been 2015, it's August. So this is a quote from the article by Dr. McLachlan. Other significant issues include that on the night shift of August the 3rd, this is in relation to baby E, for the entire hospital, in brackets, maternity, delivery, paediatrics, A&E and neonatal units, there was only one paediatric senior house officer, SHO, Dr. Woods, who was a GP trainee and admits being inexperienced with neonates, and one paediatric registrar, Dr. Harkness. That's for the whole hospital. That's the end of that quote. The second quote and the actual final bit, conclusion in that section called Discussion and Conclusion, Discussion and Conclusions, that Dr. McLachlan writes, is he's summing it up as follows. Baby E was not as the doctors led the police and jury to believe an unexpected death that can only be explained by the hand of Lucy Letby. Rather, his demise was entirely explainable when we bring together all of the information and seek the simplest, in brackets, Occam's razor, explanation. That explanation is bacterial sepsis, or septic shock caused by a systemic bacterial infection and resulting in sudden onset NEC, that's something I had to look up, necrotizing enterocolitis. So that's the conclusion, but there's a lot of detail that comes before that leads to that conclusion that you go through. Okay. Moving on to another area, I think I mentioned in the last video, there's another excellent article I really recommend people to read. It's on a website called chimpinvestor.com. The writer is Peter Elston, but he's also a statistician. And this is it's a case in which statistics were used by the prosecution to suggest that, well, who else could it be? It had to be Lucy Letby, but obviously one of the main challenges here is that there weren't any murders at all. Not that it's somebody else that was responsible for crimes like that. Anyway, the website's called chimpinvestor.com, and the title of this article, which was published on the 2nd of September, that's yesterday, isn't it, is called The Twilight Zone of the Lucy Letby Case on chimpinvestor.com. Really recommend you looking at that, because there's a lot of link words in the article which takes you to further information that really will furnish you with a lot of understanding, I think, about where the argumentation and the is building now towards challenging what was done in court, the prosecution's case in court. This article by Peter Elston, it challenges the alleged, it focuses, considerably on the history and the alleged shortcomings of the prosecution expert witness Dewi Evans, or Dewi Evans, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, it might be Dewi, it's Welsh, isn't it? And it casts doubt on much of the evidence he gave in court, and furthermore challenges its reliability. Dewi Evans said in court that the term expert was, quote, far too flash for me. So, there's discussion here about previous cases that he was involved in and questions raised as to how he became involved, in fact, in the Lucy Letby case. The idea, there's a phrase going around that he touted for business, he contacted them, but questions raised about how he knew about the case at a certain point in time when it hadn't been publicised. So, it's interesting to see that and to look into other cases he's been involved in, and he certainly was admonished very strongly by a judge in a recent case, and his evidence was termed as worthless. Anyway, you'll see the details there if you look at that article on the Chimp Investor site.